pulls one on the ground, a chance for two. To second one, back to first. And the Mets' agonizing 3.5-month slow motion collapse is complete.
No. Let's go Fins.
Oh. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Empire Podcast. And obviously, if you couldn't tell, we are going to be covering the Mets 2025 season. But before we get into that, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe, like, turn on notifications so you get notice of when we upload. And check out our latest videos. We did a whole Yankees 2025 season outlook as well. What's to come next? We gave player grades. And that's basically what we're going to be doing in today's episode just for the New York Metropolitans, who, Alex, had one of the most disappointing, maybe the biggest collapse in baseball history.
Yeah, man. That was shocking, honestly, because I was honestly rooting for them. But, dude, like, it's okay, man. It's okay. I'm going to be a little bit more easy on them because it's a couple weeks since it happened. So, can't be that hard because a lot has happened already. They already fired like 6 or 7 guys. But yeah, no, they're done. They're done. they're already trying to look towards next season. So we are gonna do the same. But yeah, as an overall season, I feel bad for y'all fans though, because y'all were rocking with them. You know, going to all the games and stuff. Cohen promised and all this stuff, but it's okay. It's okay because
I think that's what kind of
we didn't win
kills.
either, so we're in the same spot.
Yeah. Definitely a more disappointing season for the Mets, though.
Yeah.
And I was hard on them as soon as they got eliminated. I was pissed off. I was frustrated. But I think, Mets fans knew going into that weekend against Miami, like, after the way we collapsed, like, you could even argue, like, we shouldn't have even deserved to be in the playoffs. So, and that last game when we lost to Miami just proved, like, we didn't belong. Although Cincinnati got absolutely destroyed by the Dodgers, it sucks that the Mets weren't there, especially for the fans, because I feel like what you said was basically what I was going to say, and the fact that the attendance at Citi Field was phenomenal this year, top 5 in baseball. And this was a fan base that was top 5 in baseball in attendance following a year where they were not good in attendance. And Steve Cohen said that we needed to show up for the team. We needed to support the players, the team, the organization. And we did that this year, being top 5 in baseball. And we got rewarded with a absolute downfall of a season. I mean, I've had time to process it, but in the same sense, it's like I still can't believe looking back at this team, like the amount of talent that this team had. Like, how did we not do something special this year, or at bare minimum make the playoffs?
Yeah. Exactly.
So there's going to be a lot of stuff that is going to happen this winter in the Mets organization, including coaching changes. We've already seen a couple of changes, including the new bench coach for the New York Mets. They hired Kai Correa. For those of you who don't know who he is, he served under Gabe Kapler in the Giants organization when the Giants won like 107 games that one year. And most recently, he served in the Cleveland Guardians organization. He was the coach of base running, defense, game strategy. Now he heads over to Queens to serve as the bench coach under Mendoza. But looking at the 2025 season, I mean, I have absolutely no words. I mean, I'm frustrated. I really am frustrated because this was a team that not only were they number 1 in the NL East, not only were they number 1 in the National League, but they were number 1 in the MLB. Number 1 in the MLB going into the summer. And not only do you not win the NL East, but you don't make the playoffs. I am in utter shock that this team did not make the playoffs. And it's honestly the only word that I have to put, it's disgusting. It is disgusting that you can spend so much money on an organization. You can spend so much money acquiring these players, and you win 83 games? Granted, there were so many more wins the Mets could have had because in the summer, I think it was like an every night thing where the Mets would go up 6-zip and blow a lead. But to win 83 games, losses are losses. You won 83 games with this roster. Absolutely disgusting season by the Mets. They should be disgusted with themselves.
Agreed. But I don't want to talk too bad about them, so.
I will talk bad about this team for the rest of my life. This is when I have kids, I'm gonna say, oh my gosh, one of the funnest teams I've ever gotten to witness was the 2024 New York Mets. And they followed it up with the worst season I've ever seen. Now, granted, I know there have been really bad seasons in Mets history, and I didn't get to really witness them.
Mm-hmm.
But as a diehard Mets fan, with the expectations coming on into the season, you could argue this is the most disappointing season the Mets have ever had, especially not only when you come off of an NLCS appearance, but you come off of signing one of the hottest and biggest free agents in the history of baseball. And the Mets finally got the number one guy in free agency. A guy who came here because he believed in the Mets building a dynasty, which they still can because it's only year 1 of 15. But you started off by missing the playoffs and winning 83 games?
And collapsing.
An absolute collapse. But that's all I'm going to say because I could legit rant about this Mets season and all the little things that went on for hours and hours and hours because being someone who watched the games every single day, there was just a point in the summer where, like, I couldn't wait for, like, school to come. Because to sit home every day and watch what the Mets were doing, I felt like my life was being killed. Like, it was disgusting. Like, my eyes, like were burning watching what the Mets were doing. I have no other words to say. Absolutely disgusting. They need to do something this offseason. We'll get more into the offseason moves and what the Mets could really do going forward into 2026 in depth. We're going to be doing that for the Yankees and the Mets. But for this episode, we're really just going to be covering the Mets 2025 season, the outlook. So with that being said, we're going to get into our segment that we got into last week with the Yankees, this time with the Mets. And we're going to be giving every single individual player grades. All right, we're not going to get into the whole bullpen, the whole pitching staff, maybe a couple of guys in the pitching staff, but definitely not the whole bullpen. The bullpen, we're going to give a total grade.
All right, sounds good. And I'll say the players, and then we'll give you guys our thoughts. Let's start off with catcher and then work to the infield and all that. So for the first player on the list, I'm gonna start off with the backup catcher, Luis Torrens. I want you to go first. What would you give him as a number grade, and then tell us why?
I mean,
sorry,
Luis Torrens was really one of the bright spots on this Mets team. Although, obviously, his bat wasn't bad, especially against lefties, but we didn't expect too much out of the bat of Luis Torrens.
Yeah.
But, I mean, as a catcher, as a defensive catcher, I mean, you could argue the best in the league, one of the best in the league. Gold Glove finalist this year. And, I mean, don't run on Torrens. That's just the bottom line. Don't run on Torrens. It doesn't matter who's running. It doesn't matter who's trying to steal second base. He'll throw you out with his eyes closed. So, for Luis Torrens, I'm going to have to give Luis Torrens an A. I have no better things to say about Luis Torrens. He could have gotten an A+, obviously, if he would have, broke out with the bat. But when you talk about from a defensive catching standpoint, game calling, defensive catcher who could throw out runners, for what his expectations were coming into the season, he gets an A.
Hey, fair. That's fair. I'm not gonna give him an A just because I don't know if he's an A player, but he's definitely a good player, above average player. So I'd give him a B. Obviously, there's nothing to say about the bat, but his defense, I would agree, is top 3 in the league because he was with the Yankees, I think, a year and a half ago too. So he was a AAA. I got to see him a little bit, but
they traded him for $100,000.
We traded him, so it's all right though. He's a good player though. Good defense. I like what he did for the team, especially when Alvarez would keep going back down and forth.
Yeah. I
So
don't think Torrens is an A player. I think
yeah,
when you
H,
look at his
yeah,
expectations coming into the year,
yeah. You didn't
he
expect
met those expectations and succeeded them farly in terms of defense. I mean,
that's fair.
every time a guy ran on Torrens, he threw him out.
Yeah, exactly. I think he had like one of
So
the best like throw him out percentages or something like
it's
that.
either going to be him or Patrick Bailey that walks away with the Gold Glove. So
Did he
it's
was
going to
he
be
a
interesting
finalist?
to see. Patrick Bailey is a finalist. Torrens is a
Okay.
finalist.
Okay, so yeah, he has a good.
There's a third. I can't remember who the third is.
Mm,
I gotta figure that out.
yeah, he
But
could win that then.
he definitely can. And I mean, from a defensive catcher standpoint, he wasn't even supposed to be our starting catcher. I mean, he was he was he was phenomenal. I mean, there's nothing more that I can say. The other catcher that is a Gold Glove finalist is Carson Kelly from the Cubs.
Kelly.
Another good defensive catcher, but I think Bailey or Torrens walks away with it.
Yeah. All right, so I'm giving him a B. You gave him an A. For the next player, we're gonna do Francisco Alvarez, the starting catcher for most of the season. I'll go first. I'll give him an A minus, honestly, because I think he actually, when he got sent down a couple times, he actually came back better. So that's what we like to see. Is like, especially from a young player, you want to see improvement. I think he did improve this year. Obviously, the glove is shaky, but then that's why you kind of have the tandem of both of them. So whenever you do need defense in important spots, you go to Torrens or whatever. But I think his bat really looked better this year. He's hitting the ball over the field. Singles, he was hitting singles. I like that. I like that. So yeah, I'm gonna give him A minus.
Yeah, Alvarez, he definitely had better at bats. I want to see him actually start getting the results next year. Obviously, the
Yeah,
health was obviously the problem for Alvarez this year, going up and down with injuries. But I have so much respect for Alvarez, especially down the stretch of the season. He was battling multiple injuries, played
yeah,
through them. He was a workhorse for the Mets this year, and you got to respect that. Uh, in terms of what I had for expectations this year, and then if he met them or not, I don't think he completely met them, and I think obviously that really is because of the injuries
yeah.
that set him back a lot. Dealing with multiple injuries, having to catch, especially it being hand injuries and being a catcher is not easy. So I'm gonna have to give Alvarez a B, um, only because he did have better at bats down the stretch of the season when he got called back up, but earlier in the season he really struggled
Yeah,
with
he
his
was strong.
discipline, and that's one thing that Alvarez really needs to continue to work on because when he does lay off those breaking ball pitches low and away or in the dirt, and he starts to grind out at bats, he starts to hit the ball really hard. So I think if he continues to do that going into next season, I think we could be looking at Alvarez being one of the top catchers in the league because obviously we know he was one of the top prospects in baseball. We're waiting for him to really take that next step forward. I think he's on the verge of it. He's starting to become a good defensive catcher as well. So I think we're on the verge of really good things for Francisco Alvarez. I think that
Agree.
catching position for the New York Mets is the one that I'm probably least worried about. Besides, obviously, like Lindor at shortstop going into next year, I think Alvarez and Torrens as your tandem is perfectly fine going into 2026. So I think the one thing we just have to hope for with them is health, because obviously, when Alvarez is getting called up and down, it's hard to find consistency. So I'll give Alvarez a B, but I really do think we're on the verge of really good things of what the expectations for Alvarez can be, and I think he can exceed them.
That's good. That's good stuff. I mean, do you want to do Hayden Senger, or you want to move on to the infield?
Um, Hayden Sanger, listen,
Is it?
I won't
Yeah.
give him a grade, but when he filled in for Alvarez's time when he was missing, he was solid defensive catcher. Didn't really get anything out of the bat. If I had to give him a grade, I'll just give him like a B minus, C plus, probably C plus. I mean, he just filled in the role. He played good defensive catching. So didn't expect anything with the bat. Didn't do anything with the bat. But he filled in that time when Alvarez was gone as the backup catcher, and that's why I gave Torrens the A because he really was able to fill in that spot for Alvarez when Alvarez was gone, and he put the ball in play a lot. Torrens put the ball in play a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
but we can move on to first base.
Okay, first base. Obviously, the big free agent, Pete Alonso, the first baseman. I'll go first because it's an easy one. I think it's A plus. I mean, he was one of the best hitters in the league. I remember week to week, I would always check like the RBI leaders and stuff like that. It was Pete throughout pretty much the whole season. I think he finished top three. But this is one of his best offensive seasons. I know his defense. I understand that, but this is one of his best overall seasons of his career. Like honestly, so I'm gonna give him an A+, and I think he should be on a lot of teams' boards this offseason. We'll see, but I think the Mets need to bring this guy. They got to prioritize bringing this guy back because if they don't, then it's gonna be scrambling time. But overall, A+ for him. I think his arm is the only problem, like as a player standpoint. But he actually looked faster like this year. I don't know. He looked a little speedy this year.
He's definitely starting to get a little more agile.
Yeah,
Compared to when he came into the league.
exactly.
And then he started getting a little bit on the heavier side the last couple of years, but starting to get more into
Yeah.
better shape. For Alonso,
What would you
I
give?
got to give him an A. Only because I really want him back in blue and orange next year. There's no question about it. Um, the reason I don't want to give him an A+ is because I do want room for improvement. Not on the offensive side. The offensive side, he was phenomenal. I have
Yeah,
nothing to say
for
about
him.
Pete Alonso offensively this year. Great with runners in scoring position. Drove in a lot of runs. I mean, I think he had like 70 RBIs by like June.
Mm-hmm.
Like he did phenomenal this year with the bat. I love the way Pete approached his at bats this year, and there's nothing really I can say from the offensive side. I really liked what Pete Alonso did this year on the offensive side of the ball. I gave him the A and not the A+ because I do want to see him improve with his throwing from first base.
Yeah.
Pete Alonso's a great picker, great defensive first baseman when it comes to picks. But I want to give him a little bit for improvement, just a slight room for improvement, because Pete's a gamer and Pete loves to play and he always wants to get better. You can always tell that. You can tell his passion for the game, especially in those post game interviews. So I got to give him an A because I really want him to have that room for improvement to get better with his range a little bit, and obviously his throws to first need to improve as well. Whenever the pitcher is trying to field first base, he is the sole reason why Senga was out because
Yeah.
of that bad throw to first base.
Exactly.
So I got to give Pete the A because I really do think there's room for improvement with Pete with his defense, but he's a great picker. I think if he
Yeah.
can stay the way that he is there and work on his arm, I think he's going to be an A+ player. And you could argue that he already is, even without the throwing.
Yeah.
So I love Pete, and there's no reason why he shouldn't be back. And if Pete Alonso is not back in a Mets jersey next year, if he leaves in free agency, I promise you we will have a full YouTube video about Pete Alonso leaving the Mets. But I hope that's not the case because there's no reason why this guy shouldn't be back in Mets blue and orange. So that's what I got to say about Pete.
Exactly. I agree. Um, for second base, there's a lot of guys that I'm looking here for games
Yeah.
played at the position. I'll just say Luis Angel Acuna first because I feel like he's the easiest to grade. Only 175 at bats, so didn't play a lot. But I feel like both of us kind of thought going into the season that he was going to have a solid season and be a contributor. I just feel like he wasn't that. But he was always just kind of like a pinch runner late in the season. Played a lot of positions, which is another good thing. But again, the bat wasn't there. Didn't really do much. Didn't play that much. So I would probably have to give him a C in the C range, just because we kind of expected a lot more, but the production wasn't there. But I'm interested to see what you say.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a C+ only because that first month and a half he was really hitting the ball well. He was
He
batting
was.
about 80 something.
Mm-hmm.
I think at one point he was even batting like right in that low 300 range. Obviously, it was early in the season,
Yeah.
but I'll give him a C+. I think you know in the beginning of the season he showed glimpses of the kind of hitter that he could be, but obviously that just wasn't the case going forward after that first month and a half. Really struggled with the bat. But I really like what I see from Acuna defensively and on the base path. I think he just needs to, work on his bat a little bit more. We did see glimpses of that this year, like I said. But at the end of the day, I think there is room for improvement here. I think a C+ is a fair rating for Acuna.
Yeah, he's still young too, so got
So young.
him time. For the next second baseman, we'll do Jeff McNeil because he did play, I think, the most games at the position. So Jeff McNeil, you can go first on this one.
Um, yeah, this is a tough one because,
A lot of people hate him.
yeah, a lot of people want him traded. A lot of people want him gone.
Exactly.
I will say this before I give him a grade. I love Jeff McNeil's defensive versatility, being able to play all three outfield positions, being able to play second base. Obviously, that's really good to have on your team because it gives you a little bit of flexibility when it comes to later in the game strategizing, pinch hitting, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But Jeff McNeil with the bat this year, I mean, good God. Like, this guy was the batting champion about 3 years ago? 3 years ago? Batting 320 something. And what did he bat this year?
43.
240 something? 250 something? Yeah, 243. So, uh, God. I think I'm going to have to give him in that same range of Acuna. I'd probably move Acuna down to a C and probably McNeil to a C plus. Just because I liked what McNeil did with his defensive versatility this year. But I don't know, man. I feel like it's not even Mets bias. I think it's just that I watch the games too much to like be able to know what to grade them. I mean,
Let's see.
God, McNeil was tough because he sucked with the bat, but I liked his defensive versatility. But his speed's not there.
13 mil a year. I mean, he's not overpaid, so I feel like
I think he's
fair.
overpaid. He's making 15 mil. Yeah, 15 mil to hit 240 something, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I guess.
I just think they need to figure out the situation with McNeil going into the offseason. I think I'll probably move Acuna down to a C minus and put McNeil at a C. I think that's more fair. But McNeil needs to be better. If he is going to be on the Mets moving forward, he needs to be better. He needs to start hitting for contact because the guy's starting to try to lift and hit bombs. And dude, you don't have no pop. Like,
Yeah, the approach.
you need to start going back to just punching the ball to the outfield. Keep it simple.
Exactly.
So Acuna C minus, McNeil C. That's what I'll do.
Bet I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna give him a C minus, C minus. I feel like that's fair for him. Just, I mean, I don't know if he's another player that, like, again, going into the year, it wasn't like a high expectation type of thing. Like, we were just hoping he kind of just does his role, you
Yeah.
know. But again, he kind of just, like, it wasn't. He was just floating there. So I guess a C is fair for him. I wouldn't say he's one of the main reasons why they struggled this year, but definitely a contributor.
He definitely was. I mean, there was a lot of guys that underperformed, and I'm sure that there's going to be some names that you mentioned coming up that it's going to get me a little fired up. So
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna go into this one, or the next one, because I think this one gets me the most fired up. So I hope it gets you the most fired up. But I'm gonna go to, I guess, utility infielder. I guess you can call him, Ronnie Mauricio. I'll let you go because this guy to me deserves a D minus to an F. But I don't know if that's being too harsh because you watch more than me, so
no, you're not too far off. Yeah, I'd probably give him a D minus.
yeah.
The only reason he doesn't get an F is because when he bats left-handed against righties, he hits the ball hard. The defense needs work. First of all, you're 6'6". You shouldn't be playing the infield. Grab an outfield glove and go to the outfield. And he doesn't because they wanted him. They wanted him to go play the outfield, and he said no. So that says one thing about him. Wow. I mean, Ronnie Mauricio's plate vision, his plate discipline is one of the worst. I mean, dude, he's swinging at pitches in the sky. He's swinging at pitches killing ants and worms. Absolutely horrible plate vision and plate discipline. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I will be shocked if Ronnie Mauricio is a New York Met come spring training.
Agreed.
I think he and Mark Vientos are the two guys that are going to be starters in trades this offseason when the Mets make trades. So
Swaggy V.
one of those two, if not both, are not going to be on the Mets next year.
That's
If they are, I'd be shocked. But they're talking about improving defense. They're talking about run prevention, and Vientos and Mauricio are just not helping in that category. So
agree.
that's my take on Mauricio. D minus, get him off the Mets. I love his potential, Don't get me wrong. I think he could still be a very, very good power hitter in the MLB. Not very good, but good power hitter in the MLB. But I just don't think he fits with this Mets team and what they have for their future.
Hey, you nailed it. Because I was gonna say the same thing. Like that, I feel like that play kind of just sealed it against the Marlins when the guy stole third and he just didn't cover. He had his hands on his hips and then he runs over. I feel like that just sealed it for the season that he was having because, bro, he has some of the worst swings I ever
He's
seen.
never in the game.
Yeah, like, bro.
The time where he's most in the game and competitive is when he's talking to Soto and Marte on the bench. That's when I actually see like Mauricio actually engaged.
Yeah, actually having fun, bro.
Which is like, I'm sorry, but like Marte and Soto were honestly really good this year. I mean, Soto was obviously really good, but Marte was solid this year. I mean, he was batting 290 for most of the year.
Yeah.
And he slowed down a little bit towards the end, but not for nothing. But how are you spending all this time with Marte and Soto and you can't get like any sort of like improvement in your plate vision? I mean, absolutely horrible. I've never seen anything like it.
Facts.
I've never seen someone swing at the pitches that he swings at.
Yeah, I agree. If that's a good point too, though. Like if you're talking to Soto, who's one of the best, like walks all the time, has one of the best eyes. Like umpires look at him for calls. You have that on your team, and you're still swinging like at curveballs in the dirt, looking just silly and stuff. So that's a good point, though. But to move on to the next position or the next guy, I'd say is Brett Beatty. I actually like Brett Beatty a lot. I think he improved really good this year. His
Let
bat
me
this
say
year
this.
was
Let
insane.
me say this about Brett Beatty. I loved what Brett Beatty did so much this year.
Yeah, he's one.
I'd consider buying his jersey. And I own a good amount of Mets jerseys.
I don't know if he's worth all that.
But this dude was one of the best defensive third basemen in the league this year. Absolutely phenomenal with the glove. Broke out with the bat. The one thing that I hope for Brett Beatty is that he is a better ball player moving forward in the sense that I hope he doesn't regress the way Vientos did this year. And I believe that Beatty won't because I think he is a more all-around player. He not only hits for power, but he knows how to put the ball in play when he needs to. He plays good defense. He runs the bases well. I'd be shocked if Beatty's not our starting third baseman next year. If he isn't, then he's our starting second baseman, and we signed a third baseman. But Beatty's definitely going to be a starter for us next year. I mean, he really proved that he can be that. Obviously, it depends how he performs in spring training as well in a couple of months. But this is a guy that is definitely going to be back on the Mets next year. And if he's not, then I don't know who we traded him for because it must have been like someone really good. But we'll come back to this if they did. But
Yeah.
I hope Beatty is a Met next year. I really do because I really like what he brought defense at third, defense at second. The bat was good, runs the bases. Gotta love Brett Beatty. So for Brett Beatty, I'm gonna give him a B plus. I think he really stepped it up this year. He really showed that he really is that top prospect that we had in our organization once. Although it was a weaker farm system at the time, Brett Beatty was always our number one guy. We can't wait for Brett Beatty to get called up. People when he was in the minors, people were saying this guy's the next David Wright. I don't think he's the next David Wright.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll ever have another David Wright. Obviously, we have Lindor, we have Soto. They're going to be phenomenal ball players, and David Wright is not going to be as good as them. But David Wright is David Wright. Brett Beatty's going to be Brett Beatty. B plus for Brett.
I agree. I think he had a big season. I think he showed a lot of flashes this year that the Mets going forward should be like, hey, we actually have a position battle here, like between Vientos and Beatty. I don't know if they're gonna trade Vientos, but I mean, if you're seeing a lot of things, and maybe because I think
I just think that Vientos isn't going to be competition for Beatty in terms of playing on the field because Beatty is light years. Beatty's just light years ahead defensively, and if Stearns is preaching run prevention, Vientos is not going to see the field.
yeah.
He's going to DH.
Then what about Pete?
If
Though?
he is going to be on the Mets, he's going to DH. What happened?
Going forward, aren't they gonna like try to play Pete at DH too a little bit?
If they re-sign him, I mean, I'm sure they're going to want him to DH at some points,
Yeah.
unless they really do think he can improve defensively. But that's obviously to be seen because we don't even know if he's going to be back. So
Yeah, true. I mean, it's gonna be interesting. They might actually, because I feel like the Mets over the last 10 years like really don't have a lot of problems with their DH. They like kind of just throw whoever in DH. But like I feel like going forward, this is gonna be actually something to think about.
They need
So
to improve that position for sure. I mean, when you look at this season, you had Vientos there. You put some other guys in DH whenever they needed like a day off defensively,
yeah, exactly.
um, which was good. But in the same sense, like you need a guy who can play DH and hit bombs too. And like when you look back at the past couple of years, like DJ Stewart was DHing for us
Yeah,
at
like
one point.
Vogelback. I think of names like that. And it's like
Garrett Ruff, like
yeah, bro. Like for whoever, bro. But
don't get me started on Ruff.
you want to give him a grade for his 2021 season? No, okay.
F F F F F F F F F F F F.
All right. Let's move on to the next player, though. This obviously, I think this is your favorite player, unless it's changed. Francisco Lindor, the starting shortstop.
Yeah, no, that's my favorite player by far. I mean, he really is a phenomenal baseball player. The one thing I will say about Lindor in terms of the negative side of things, one, he needs to be a little more consistent with the bat. He seems to have stretches where he's like one of the best hitters in baseball, and then he really, really cools off for a certain period of time and then heats up again. Um, I think I would like to see a little bit more consistency with the bat.
Mhm.
Obviously, he's a stronger hitter from the left side than the right side. We knew that. But defensively, man, I wasn't really happy with Lindor defensively this year.
I did see.
This was a year where he definitely took a step back defensively. Obviously, Lindor taking a step back defensively is way different from another player. But Lindor wasn't that same defensive player that he was in previous years. Now, I don't know if that's because of the back issues he had throughout the season or what it could be. He had the foot injury at one point, so I don't really know what exactly it was. It could have been both of those things that were affecting it, but I do want to see Lindor moving forward get a little more consistent with the bat. The numbers look great, obviously. I would like a little more consistency throughout the season. I know it's tough, but I would like to see that out of him. And I do want to see him going back to that Platinum Glove Award winning shortstop. Even though he hasn't won it, he's played like it the last couple of years. And I didn't see that from him this year. So for Lindor overall this year, I'm gonna give Lindor an A. I think he can still be an A plus. I think obviously he still, was on the verge of that 30-30. He's a 30-30 ball player, and you can't really like fight that. But I to get him to that A plus, he needs to be a little bit more consistent, just a tiny bit with the bat, and improve. Go back, not even improve, go back to that defensive player that he was.
I agree. I actually did see that he was struggling a lot defensively. Had a little bit more errors, a little bit more messes up, like short, which you don't really see out of him. So that's actually kind of surprising. I feel like
Yeah,
overall his numbers though were pretty good, like 31, 31, 86 driven in, like 270 for a leadoff hitter. He bats leadoff most of the time, so that's not bad. Like you cannot. At 346 on base percentage is also good. So I'm gonna give him an A minus just because I don't think he deserves the highest grade of the team.
yeah.
But I'll give him an A minus for sure. He definitely,
I think that's true.
yeah.
Yeah, anywhere in that A minus to A range. Yeah,
He was
I
definitely an A player though. You can't. There's no looking at his stats and be like, huh, no, that's a B season. No, he's definitely
no.
an A player. It's just like you could have, like you said, you kind of want more consistency with the bat because then he'll go through slumps of like batting like 0 for 40 and like random times like when you kind of need him to step up, especially when they were struggling in the summer this year and he was like kind of like a main reason because he wouldn't get
Yeah,
on base and set the tone. So that's actually something you would kind of want him to just be more consistent going forward. And then the defense, I think the defense will be there next season, especially. But I think what ruins him too, though, is the fact that he has to worry so much about the fact that Vientos is not a great defender on his right side, and then on his left side, second base is always a different player there. So it's like he's like the main Cadillac defensively on the Mets. So I feel like him having to worry about all that this season, and then the struggles, I think, just kind of like also went into his whole defensive mindset. But I think going forward, he'll be fine. But yeah,
yeah. I think that's why I think Beatty needs to be in our infield next year because he takes
yeah,
the pressure off of Lindor, especially when Beatty's at third.
Hmm.
So
I agree.
that's just where my mind is at. If Beatty is gonna move to second for a third baseman, it's got to be someone who's sure with the glove, a guy like Alex Bregman or something like that.
Yep.
So
Did Bregman opt out?
Bregman did opt out.
I saw that. Okay.
Bregman did opt out of his contract, so he is going to be a free agent. I think that's going to be a guy that the Mets look to
Yeah.
get. But
He'd be a
again,
perfect
they
fit.
are going to have a video talking about all the fits.
Yeah, the free agency, bro. The free agency video is gonna be good. So make sure I tune into that
Free
too.
agency video is definitely going to be good. That's going to be up once the World Series wraps
Hmm.
up. So it's going to be fun because the free agency was the reason why we started the podcast. Our
Yeah,
first
exactly.
post, our first video, if you go to our Spotify, is our free agent predictions from last year.
We did so
So
terrible, but it was
we
so
did so
fun.
bad. But the reason why we did so bad is because we didn't expect 5 of the top 10 free agents to all go to the Dodgers.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Should be different.
I think the only one I got right in the top 10 was Soto to the Mets. And that was
Yeah,
just complete me hoping.
yeah. And
So
you got Pete coming back right too, and
we
you
coming back,
actually got
yeah.
Flaherty to the Tigers. I didn't see that. You
Yeah.
actually saw that all along. So I'll shout out to you for
Which
that.
honestly, at the time, people called me crazy for me thinking the Mets were going to get Soto and Alonso. But no one wanted to sign Alonso. So apparently, most teams would rather see Alonso play in Korea. So
Yeah, they could have
we
signed
didn't
him.
want to
Honestly.
sign him. So the Mets were like, all right, we'll just sign him 2 years,
The Mariners
47.
messed up, man. I know the Mariners were the other team that wanted him, but then they kept lowballing him. Like, bro,
I
look at the
think
season he
they
had.
could be a team that go after Pete, but I think they like what Naylor's doing. I think for the Mariners this
Yeah.
offseason, they're either going to want to bring back Naylor or bring in Murakami.
Mm-hmm. Probably
But
cheaper too, but
we're in the outfield now, right?
yeah,
Moving to
the
the outfield.
outfield. Let me see if they're. Yeah, we named all the guys. Actually, I don't know if we gave Vientos a grade. We did talk about Vientos, but I don't know if we gave him.
We did talk about Vientos. I don't think we gave him a grade. For Vientos, not the year I would have wanted. Even though like his home runs don't look terrible, he really did start to heat up towards the end. Towards the end of the year, he was really hot with the bat. But for 2/3 of the season, I mean, he was like nowhere to be found. And horrible defensive player. And Vientos is starting to get on that Giancarlo Stanton level of his speed. I mean, it is really bad. Like the dude cannot hustle to save his life. So I think he's hustling. I think he's just really slow.
Yeah.
And he's got like fat feet or something. But for Vientos this year, I'm gonna have to give Vientos a C minus. This is not what we expected out of Vientos this year. I mean, when we signed Soto, we were talking about the big four being Lindor, Vientos, Soto. I mean, at one point when Alonso wasn't coming back, when we thought he wasn't coming back, Vientos was talked about being the protection for Soto in the lineup. Imagine how that would have turned out.
Yeah.
We would have been talking about possibly a Mets team without Alonso this year. Probably would have won 60 something games.
No, you're right. That's crazy to think about though, because he did have a
It
great
is
bro. He had a great
because
season.
Alonso carried us so much in that beginning of the season.
Yeah,
Because our pitching was good, but we were really only scoring 2 or 3 runs, and Alonso was driving in 2 or 3 runs every game.
exactly. It's a good point. Just for that, I'm gonna have to give him a D plus, just because my expectations on him were super high. Like you said, he was gonna be like the guy after Soto in the lineup if they didn't bring back Pete. And like, bro, what he did in the postseason last year, it was not crazy to say that he was gonna have like a 30 plus home run season. I know he got injured.
I was the one person that was like, oh, he's not gonna sophomore slump. Like
Yeah,
he's a pure
he was
hitter. He's gonna hit
polished.
like 35 home runs.
Yeah, I thought he
I
was
think a D plus
too.
is fair. I might actually agree with you on that in the sense that when you look at the expectations
Yeah,
coming into the year, I mean, he just failed them.
exactly.
And bad defensive player, bad base runner. So
Hmm. So yeah, that's
I
why I give him
I
a
I,
D.
I love Vientos, but again I don't know if I see him on the Mets next year.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna go to the outfield. I'm smiling here just because the room outside of Soto and Nimmo is just hilarious. So this is gonna be good. I'll start off with the first name here. I'll start off with Sterling Marte. I know you spoke about him earlier, so this shouldn't be too hard.
Yeah, I actually, in terms of the expectations coming into the year, I like what Marte did this year. I thought that, this fourth year, the deal, it's going to be dreadful. Like, he's not going to be good. He's just going to be an old vet. But no, Marte was actually good with the bat this year, and he hit over 285 for most of the year, was getting on base. The speed definitely took a step back. He looks fast when he's running, but he was towards the bottom in speed metrics for the year. Obviously, the defense isn't really there anymore. Obviously, he's an older player. I think he's 37, 38 now. And but I think he was good with the bat this year in terms of what he did, what the expectations were coming into the final year of his deal. So for Marte overall, I'm gonna give Marte a C plus. I think he was really solid. He was a solid ball player. But obviously the defense and the speed weren't there. The speed obviously is the one that hurts because he was obviously a guy that was getting 40 stolen bases, and that was just not there this year at all. So the speed was gone. But I like what he did with the bat. C plus I think is fair. C plus B minus. Maybe give him a B minus.
I agree. I agree because he had a good offensive season, especially because you didn't expect much. You thought he would just kind of be like the fourth outfielder, play the field every here and there. But again, he's old, like you said. So for his age and for his expectations, I think a B minus is low key fair. I'm not even gonna lie because you kind of didn't really expect much, and he actually kind of overexceeded. The funny thing is, I do want to mention this though, is when that whole thing was happening when Lindor grounded out for the final out against the Marlins. Remember, he was kind of like just like I don't know.
Okay,
He was, like,
I'm not gonna
dancing,
lie.
doing
That low key in the moment pissed me off.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what is he smiling?
Like he was like waving at all the fans and smiling like, dude,
That's-
we just got eliminated from the postseason and we were supposed to be a bye team in the playoffs. We were supposed to be like a top 2 team
Exactly.
playoffs this year. And we just got eliminated. Not only did we get eliminated,
Embarrassed.
but if we would have won the game against against the Miami Marlins, I was gonna say one of the worst teams in the league, but they really weren't this year. They're actually really good considering their expectations. But I just don't know how you can just stand there and smile and lift up your hands and
Exactly.
wave to the fans. I get the fans. The fans deserve better, but don't be smiling, bro. There ain't nothing to smile about. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like I get that he wasn't really too big of part of the problem, but at the end of the day, you can thank the fans, just send out a message, and that's it. Because
Exactly.
I love Marte. I love his energy, but that wasn't the right moment for that.
Oh God, bro! Right after he grounds out, the camera just goes to him.
I think he was just rage baiting, to be honest.
I'm like, what the hell you doing, bro?
Yeah, I was like, dude.
That low key lowers the grade. I'm gonna see
That low key turned off my TV too.
Oh man, and then the commentators, bro, just going. Cause that was just a funny moment. Anyway, next player. This is gonna get you fired up, so I'll let you take the floor. I'm actually just gonna give my grade, and I'll let you talk. This is an F player right here, Cedric Mullins. Oh, he's a
FFF.
yeah.
Let me tell you something about Cedric Mullins. We're gonna have a talk. This guy, one of the worst Mets I have ever seen in my life. And I just found out that Cedric Mullins was a diehard Braves fan growing up. He did it on purpose.
He hates him.
He was horrible. Bro. I don't even want to see him in the MLB next year. I don't want to see his face. I don't want to hear his name. I don't want to hear his stupid walk-up song. I don't want to see his stupid at-bats. He sucks. He is not the Cedric Mullins that once was. He is horrible. Horrible. I cannot believe.
Honestly, a valid crash out.
I cannot believe that we allowed this guy to suit up in blue and orange in a year where we were supposed to be one of the best teams in the league. He was horrible. And what pisses me off even more is that when we got him, I was like, all right, this is an upgrade with the bat because he had 18 home runs when we acquired him.
Yep.
He had 2 home runs as a Met. And one of them I was at the game for. And I'm so mad at myself that when I saw him hit the home run live, I actually stood up on my feet and clapped because God knows he did not deserve to be applauded for the absolute disgrace he was for the New York Mets organization this year. F minus to the third power. Get him off the Mets. I hope that if he stays in the league, I hope he goes over 27 against the Mets with 27 strikeouts. He is absolutely horrible.
Okay.
Absolutely. Next person. I don't even want to hear you talk about Cedric Mullins. Next person. I'm done with Cedric Mullins. Get him off the New York Mets.
All right. Next player is another good one, man. What a star this guy is. I'm talking Jared Young, man. Man, can we?
We're grading Jared Young. We're grading Jared Young.
He's the next one on the list. I feel like
The only thing I remember him doing this year was the pinch hit home run in Cincy.
Yeah, in Cincy, yeah, that was a good one.
That's it.
And I think y'all lost that game though, didn't you? Oh no, y'all won that game. Diaz closed that one out, right?
Barely.
Yeah, that was the bases loaded one. Okay. Yeah, I mean,
no, Jared Young, he doesn't even he gets an NA. He doesn't even deserve to be graded. He doesn't even deserve to be graded.
Where'd you guys get?
How was this guy in the major leagues for us for like 2 months? Mind-boggling to me.
He's 30? I thought he was like a prospect.
No, he sucks. He's 30. He came up. We signed him from like Korea or something.
Yeah, he was overseas. I'm like, bro.
He's trash. Get him off the Mets too. Or just keep him in AAA because he's not even a bad AAA player. He just sucks in the MLB.
Yeah. Facts.
Don't want to see him. Get his face out of my screen.
This one's an interesting one. I'm going to try to speed this one up because we're already like at the 47-minute mark, so I'm going to speed this up. But this guy's an interesting one. Brandon Nimmo. I'm interested to see what you say about Brandon Nimmo because in my opinion, I feel like he was low-key underwhelming, but then the numbers don't scream underwhelming. But I want to hear what you say.
Yeah, Nimmo battled a foot injury for most of the year, so it kind of hurt him defensively. I don't think he was able to be that speed defensive guy.
Yeah.
Especially the more speed side, the more aggressive base running, all that kind of stuff. He definitely looked to hit more for power this year, which, again, I don't really like. I think if he is going to start hitting for power, he needs to be able to hit for power and average, or at least decent average. His average definitely dipped. For Nimmo, for a guy that we give an 8-year contract to, he needs to be better going forward. I know he was dealing with injuries. The numbers don't scream terrible. The numbers don't scream underwhelming, like you said.
Yeah.
But it kind of was underwhelming to see Nimmo play this year. And I'm sorry, I still can't get it out of my head. And I think I drove my girlfriend nuts about it because I wouldn't stop talking about it. But that strikeout against the Nationals, the weekend, the second to last weekend of the series, the season, bases loaded, 1 out. All you got to do is put the ball in play, bud, and we win that game. And not only did we win that game, but looking back at it now, we would have made the playoffs.
Yeah.
But he struck out, and it just proves of how much of a different player Brandon Nimmo was. Because trying to do too much, that was the problem with this team. And having the two hitting coaches, not only the two hitting coaches, two terrible hitting coaches, didn't help this team. But I like Brandon Nimmo. I think that he's a solid ball player. I like what he brings to the team, his character, his leadership, all that. The intangibles are always there. But I do think I need to see improvement out of Nimmo. So for Nimmo, I'm going to give him a solid B, just right in the middle with a B. The home runs were there. You know, he drove in a good amount of runs, but I would like to see him improve with that average. The defense, the speed needs to get back to being there. But obviously he's getting older, so you can't expect all of that from him. But I would like to see him improve a little bit defensively. So I'll give Nimmo a B.
A B, I agree. He was low-key a tricky player to grade, but honestly, like again, the Nimmo always like low-key does his job year after year, so I'm never gonna bash Nimmo. He's never one of the main issues. You just like to see more out of him, of course, but yeah, I'm gonna give him a B for sure. I think he deserves that grade. The next player, though, I think this was the Mets' best offensive player, and I think he had one of the best turnarounds, I think, of the whole season. Juan Soto, you know, the main guy. I'm gonna go first. I'll give him and honestly the best grade of the team. I'll give him an A. I think him and McLean were the only two A players on this team, and Soto, deserved it. I think he,
Finland did.
bro, 40-40 player. I did not expect that. Come on, like no one expected that, and he was that. So, um, yeah, they a for sure. I'm interested to see what you say. I know you're probably gonna glaze him, but this is also
Nah, I think an A is fair.
yeah.
I think obviously the stolen base improvement was great to see. But that I might even lean A minus. I might give him a lower grade than you did. I'll probably give him an A minus
Michael
because
Lindor.
he really struggled to hit with runners in scoring position
Yeah, he
for the
wasn't
first half
clutch.
of the year,
I get it.
and
Yeah.
he was not clutch for the first half of the year, and that's what he's known for. The defense improved, but still needs to be better. Um, but obviously the way he finished the season was so strong. But if he didn't finish that way, we're looking at Soto maybe getting a B.
Nah, for
But
real.
he finished the season so well. The stolen bases were there, and he really finished the season strong. He's probably going to finish top 3 in MVP voting. So hit more home runs this year with the Mets than he did with the Yankees, which was huge. Especially since a lot of people were concerned about the power numbers since he was leaving Yankee Stadium, but proved that he wasn't hitting Yankee Stadium home runs. He was just hitting bombs. So I think an A minus for Juan Soto is what I'm going to go with. I think he needs to start hitting with runners in scoring position,
That's fair.
and that defense needs to be even better.
Yeah, especially for someone his age, he just looks slow out there. I don't know what it is,
A
but
little sluggish, yeah. He doesn't. It looks like he's not running with the same effort in on the field than he is when he's running the bases.
yeah, exactly. It was just kind of tricky. So,
So,
but again, that's why you have guys like the next guy, Tyrone Taylor, who kind of is always a great defender. I think you're a little higher than on him than I am. I think he's just kind of just utility guy, kind of like a slightly worse Kike Hernandez. But he's a great defender, though. I'll give him that. I'm gonna give him honestly a C plus just because he was better than the other guy, Jose Siri, another
oh my god!
another guy in Cedric Mullins territory. But
Stop! Stop!
should we give Jose Siri a grade and Tyrone Taylor?
No. We're just gonna keep going. We're just gonna keep going. And for Tyrone Taylor, I think I am a little bit higher on him
Yeah,
than you are. I think he is what he is. He's a fourth outfielder. He's not a starting center fielder, but he's a fourth outfielder. He's a really good defensive player. Runs the bases extremely well, and he hit well for us down the stretch before he got hurt. He was I think he was second in our team in OPS and like
yeah.
for like a 2.5 week
In
stretch.
that in
He was
August,
getting really hot,
I
but
remember.
then he got hurt, and then we had to get Mullins at bats, and that was the end of it.
Dude cursed the season. Like he just like
Yeah, he was the curse of the season. So for Tyrone Taylor, nothing crazy. I'll give him a C grade.
yeah, same.
Tyrone Taylor is what he is.
Exactly. All right, so that rounds up all the position players. Let me make sure.
We're just gonna give rotation and bullpen overall grades.
Yep. Okay.
So
Okay. So for
I'll start with the rotation if you want.
rotation, okay, but yeah, rotation. I want to do an overall grade, but I also want to ask you two things. I mean, I know you made in the past two good points about Clay Holmes this season, and then obviously I want to talk about Nolan McLean's season before we get into the grade. So, what would you give? Like, what were your thoughts on those two players' seasons? Because I know they were the best two, the guys down the stretch, and then overall, what would you,
Yeah, Clay Holmes was good. He struggled for a little bit part of the year towards like the later half of the year. Had that really good last start against Miami. And was really good for us in the beginning of the season. Clay Holmes was one of the bright spots of this team, although he did struggle for a little bit. You can't blame this. You can't blame the pitching on Clay Holmes
yeah,
because this was a guy that was gonna come in, and he was supposed to be our 4 or 5 starter and finish top 10 in the ERA in the National League. So great thing to say about Clay Holmes. Nolan McLean, again, same
phenomenal.
thing. Great ball player. Started to give up a little bit of runs towards the end. Like I think he gave up 5 earned against the Cubs or something like that. But was really good for like 5 innings in that game.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
Suzuki at the homer.
and one thing I gotta say about Nolan McLean is he should have been called up sooner. That's just the bottom
Yeah,
line.
exactly. Those guys should have been called up sooner for sure. Would
They
have
should
probably,
have. They should have. There's no excuse about it. But for the overall pitching grade,
yeah. What'd you give that? Oh, it's rough because you have guys like Frankie Montas and like Sean Manaea who are like kind of disappointing.
I honestly
So
I have to give it a C minus. And the only reason it avoids the D's is because we had the best starting pitching in baseball for the first 2 months.
that's true. Yeah, you can't forget that.
So like
That's fair.
in the first 2 months, you could argue our starting rotation was an A plus
Mm-hmm.
for what the expectations were and how they were performing, but they were absolutely horrible.
Mm-hmm.
for the later half of the year. So I think a D plus C minus is where I'm going for the starting pitching. I'm so disappointed in the way they performed outside of the first third of the season.
Yep, I agree. I agree. And now I want to go into the bullpen because this bullpen is kind of funny. Just looking at the guys here, I'm not even gonna name them, but I know
Just
you already
name
know.
them.
You want me to? Are you
Just name
sure?
them.
'Cause I know you're
Yep.
gonna get mad.
Name them.
So we got guys like Ryan Stanek, and we
Fire him.
have we have Ryan Helsley. Are these good players or what?
Ryan Helsley. Fire him for the first half of how he performed. Keep him for how he performed down the stretch. 8 scoreless innings he finished on the
Oh, he
season.
was kind of like Devin Williams then, yeah.
He's something to look at. He's something to look at for the Mets this offseason. Although he was absolutely horrible. Hell's bums for the first half of when we acquired him. Hell's bells for the second half of when we acquired him. If it's a low AAV deal, I'd be interested in bringing back Helsley next year. Honestly,
Yeah, which I feel like that's kind of his market, so that's not bad.
yeah, he's got to have a prove it year.
Exactly. So,
So
overall grade though, I'll go first. I'm low key gonna give him. I'm low key gonna give him a D plus, just because overall they were kind of like one of the reasons why couldn't hold leads. Again, their starters wouldn't go very deep, so it was a lot of work on the bullpen. But I feel like at the deadline they kind of tried to improve that, and then it kind of still didn't work. They didn't get any better. It probably got worse. So I'm gonna probably give him a D plus, C minus. That's me being kind of nice.
yeah, I think they're in the same range of that starting rotation. I mean, guy like Diaz was lights out this year. I
Like
love
yeah,
Diaz. If he opts out, that's another guy you have to bring back, no question about it. I liked what Tyler Rogers did. Obviously that last game he struggled, but the one thing with Tyler Rogers was he struggled when he came into games with runners on base. When he came into a clean inning, nobody on, nobody out, he was really good. Gregory Soto was really, really good for us when we first acquired him. Started to slow down towards the end, so I don't think they're going to bring him back. Honestly, I think they're just going to go with Minter and Rayleigh and probably sign some depth pieces. Um, but for the overall grade of the bullpen, I mean, this team blew so many 6-0 leads, and it was mainly on the starting rotation, but it was mainly on the bullpen too. So I think the pitching in general just gets a D plus to a D plus grade.
Yeah, it's anywhere in the D's.
And the reason I'm being so harsh, and maybe some people will say C minus because of how they were in the beginning of the season, but I'm being so harsh on them because they need to improve. They need to improve their pitching, and it needs to be the number one priority this offseason.
I agree.
Run prevention. David Stern said it perfectly.
He nailed it in his conference. All right, so we did the player grades. So now I want to kind of move on to the next segment. What do you feel like is the first step? I know you've seen them fire guys, but what's the first move? Do you think it's Pete? Do you think it's a starter? Maybe add another starter. What do you think has to be the first thing they do in the offseason, starting in free agency, once the World Series ends?
It's not going to be Pete. I think he is one of the top priorities, but in terms of when they sign, Pete's not going to sign for a while because he's looking for a 7-year deal, and no one's going to give that to him right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first thing that the Mets are going to do is they're going to analyze the trade market, and they're going to try to shed the contracts of Sean Manaea and Kodai Senga. I think that's going to be the first two moves because they do have to make those moves by a certain point in the offseason, especially if they want to free up cap space to sign players. So I think the first moves you're going to see the Mets make once the offseason begins is trying to shed some salary, whether it's McNeil, whether it's Senga, Manaea. At least one of those guys I think is going to go.
Good play.
So I think that's going to be the first move that they're going to make.
Okay, good point. I agree. You actually made a good point with the whole Pete situation. It's probably going to be similar to last year, so that's a good point.
I don't think he signs until
Yeah,
close to the holiday season, if not 2026.
yeah, 2026. Yeah, I low key see that. Um, I don't know if we did this already, but we do have it here. Who's to blame? I don't know. Who do you put the most blame on? For me, I feel like it's a multitude of guys, but I don't know. Do you think there's one player that stands out or one thing that stands out?
I think it's David Stearns. I think it's David Stearns.
Mm.
I think the hitting coaches could have been better as well, but I think for the majority, it's David Stearns. And I think this was just a lesson to be learned. He approached his philosophy the same way this year that he did in 2024.
Yep.
And it showed that it can't work every year, especially when you're in a big market. He didn't sign guys to the right contracts. He didn't make the right moves at the trade deadline. And although they did sound good, at the end of the day, they weren't. And he took accountability for that in his press conference. So I think it's on David Stearns, but I believe that David Stearns can make the right moves this offseason to help better this team going forward.
Good points. And now, finally, I think this is kind of a similar question to the ones before, but how do you guys go about, this season and put it behind you guys and kind of move forward? Like, I guess it's kind of similar to what we already said, but what do
They
you
just got to keep moving forward. That's just the bottom line. You got to forget about this season. You got to remember that you were, a top 4 team in the league just a year ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
And talent's
or
there.
2 years ago going into 26. But they just got to make the right moves. And like I said, we're going to have a whole video talking about that. But just to give like a sneak preview, I think they really are going to go hard for Tariq Skubal. Reports are saying that the Tigers and Skubal are about $250 million off right now on their contract negotiations, and that he could be available. If he is available, the Mets are going to be probably the top team that is going to pursue him.
That's crazy.
So I think that's a guy that the Mets need to have. And that's a guy that I'm willing to give up a lot of guys for. I think the only guy I wouldn't give up Skubal for is McLean. Anybody else I think is open.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you're going to sign him to a contract extension.
So he has one more year left.
He only has 1 more year left of control. But I think the Mets will only acquire him if they're going to sign him to a contract extension.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think the trade will probably come with the extension.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That would be a good trade, actually. I feel like the Mets actually do have a lot of pieces, too, to give up. So that could be something to look forward to. I think
they have ready now players, too, which I'm sure the Tigers are going to be interested in.
Yeah, exactly.
But we'll talk about that whole trade.
Yeah, that'll be
we're going to talk about free agent. We're going to have a video on free agent predictions, and then we're going to have another video on trade targets.
That'll be probably in a couple of weeks, honestly.
Yeah. Season should be wrapping up in a couple of weeks, so we'll be having that out soon.
Yep. All right, so that about does it for us. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. This is a pretty fun one for both of us, but again, we do have a Giants video coming out later, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, about the game on Sunday. But going forward, I think we have a lot planned. I want to announce that I am going to be out for about 2-3 days, so probably won't be a lot of podcasts this upcoming week, but for the weeks after that for sure. But yeah, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't already, subscribe, like, all that stuff. Follow us on Instagram. We do post on there and TikTok.
We have World Series content too. Yeah, follow us on TikTok too. I think the Giants video is already going to be out though. Okay. So make sure you check out the Giants video if you haven't already. Giants video should be out. If not, then look out for that soon. But just check below to see if the Giants video is up. But I'm like 90% sure it will be up.
Yep. So that's going to do it for us. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
See you on the next one. Let's go Mets. I love GM, baby.
Let's go Marlins.
Bye.